Welcome to the Warp. Today I want to talk about the reward deck, or decks plural. What they are, how you can get them, and why you should always use them whenever you play Cosmic Encounter. Now there are two different reward decks, and they were part of the 1st and 5th expansions for CE.
Cosmic Incursion had the first reward deck, and Cosmic Dominion had the slightly crazier second deck. They are designed to be combined into one spectacular deck, but can easily be played separately. You can also simply shuffle them into the normal Cosmic deck, but I will get into why I don't recommend doing that. What is the reward deck? If you are an ally in an encounter allied with the defense, and your side wins, you and any other allies gain rewards, one for each ship you had in the encounter. Normally rewards come in the forms of freeing your own ships from the warp, or drawing cards from the Cosmic deck, but if you have the reward deck in the game, you may also choose to draw cards from here. And by and large, this is the only way to get cards from that deck. And as always, you can mix up your rewards, so if you committed 4 ships to the encounter, you could free 1 ship from the warp, draw a card from the Cosmic deck, and then 2 from the reward deck. There are many cards you can't get unless you get them from the reward deck, like kickers and rifts. But it should be pointed out that the same is true of the Cosmic deck. The flares in the game will only be in the Cosmic deck, and many of the artifacts you know and love can only be found there, not to mention the Attack 30 and the 40. But much of what is in the reward deck is generally considered pretty good.
The deck was designed as a way to entice players to ally with the defense, since historically the offense attracts more allies. It can make going for a solo win a little bit more of an agonizing decision, because if you don't win, you just know that all those players allied against you are going to get some nice juicy rewards, including potentially something that could help one of them go for the solo win. It's also a nice way to introduce new cards and card types to the game without really messing up the distribution of cards in the normal Cosmic deck.
And this is why you don't really want to shuffle the reward deck into the Cosmic deck. The Cosmic deck would be too large, and you increase the chances of being dealt 8 cards with nary an encounter card in the mix. It could be a fun variant once in a while, but not something I think you should do very often. It's also a little messy having 2 different card types being dealt out. Someone getting a manageable number of reward cards versus someone getting none, or too many. And now that person will complain the whole game. You know the type. Just avoid this altogether. The Cosmic Incursion reward deck contains 32 cards, 11 attacks, 3 of which have negative values, 3 negotiate crooked deal cards, 1 morph, 4 kickers, 4 reinforcements, 5 artifacts, and 4 rifts. Attack cards. The highest is an attack 23, but the lowest valued attack cards are negative, -1, -4, -7. This means for most players not everything in the reward deck is sunshine and bunnies, which I like. There's always some level of risk. But the other attack cards are from 10 to 19, which is decent. There are 3 negotiates, but they are special, called crooked deals. If you play one and collect compensation, you get 1 more than the number of ships you lost. If you fail to deal, you lose 1 fewer ships, so 2 for the most part, and your opponent loses 1 more, or typically 4. 4 reinforcements, a +4, 2 +5s, and a +6, all very nice. There are 5 artifacts in the Incursion deck. A card zap and a cosmic zap, 2 of the most useful artifacts. And there are 3 new artifacts: Finder, Hand Zap, Space Junk. Finder lets you name a card and search any player's hand for it. You get to look at that player's hand, which is useful, and if they have the card you named, you get to take it. Hand Zap lets you force any player to discard their whole hand and then draw a new 8-card hand. You can play this on yourself as well, if what you want is a new hand. And Space Junk lets you take the top card of the discard pile. There's a morph card in the reward deck allowing for the dreaded morph versus morph scenario, which means both sides lose. And there are 2 new types of cards. First are kickers, which have been part of Cosmic Encounter in previous versions published. You announce your intention of playing one, and it goes down right before the encounter card you intend to reveal. When you reveal your cards, the kicker's value is multiplied by the value of your encounter card. If you have an attack, multiply its number by the kicker's number, then add your side's ships. If you reveal a negotiate, you multiply the amount of compensation you receive, or the number of ships your opponent loses if a deal fails. There are 4 kickers, a ×3, 2 ×2s, and a ×0. The ×0 is great for aliens like Antimatter or Loser, or it can be used for bluffing. The other new card in the reward deck was also new to Cosmic Encounter. So this is where I will point out that the back art for the reward deck doesn't match the Cosmic deck. Thus other players can plainly see when you are holding both types. and reward cards can be targeted for compensation or other effects that let you draw cards from another player. And that's where the rifts come in. Each has a numerical value and 2 different effects. At regroup, you may play one to free ships from the warp. If you reveal a Rift 4, free 4 ships. They don't have to be your own ships. The other effect is triggered when someone takes the Rift from you. That player loses that many ships. Rifts are the minor deterrent from targeting them for compensation. Now let's look at Cosmic Dominion. This expansion wanted to introduce a lot of new cards to Cosmic Encounter, and the best way to do it was with another reward deck. Like Incursions, this deck also has 32 cards. 5 variable attack cards, 4 different special negotiates, 1 morph, 2 retreat cards, 4 intimidate cards, 5 kickers, 2 reinforcements, 5 artifacts, and 4 rifts. There are no normal attack cards in Dominion's deck. There are 5 variable attack cards, and these tap into the hazard symbols on some of the Destiny cards, giving players another reason to check them. Each variable attack card has 2 numbers on it, a larger black normal value like 2 or 21, as well as a smaller white transposed value, a 20 or a 12. When a hazard warning has been drawn, the variable attack card switches to the transposed value when it's revealed as an encounter card. There are 4 special negotiates, and each is unique. Epic Oratory lets you collect double the compensation or prevent you from losing your ships, or players can gain up to 2 colonies each in a deal. Faulty Translators lets you take compensation from your opponent's ally, and in a deal situation the 2 main players can't talk but must use gestures to work out the deal, losing 1 ship fewer if the deal fails. Right of Refusal lets you immediately discard any cards received in compensation or a deal. And Self-Defense doesn't collect compensation but eliminates opposing ships instead. There's 1 more morph in the game now, and 2 more reinforcements, a +4 and a +X, where X is the number of ships one side of the encounter has. There are 5 artifacts, all new to this edition. Rebirth lets you regain all of your home colonies, beefed up from the previous versions of Cosmic Encounter. Solar Wind reverses the gains by allies. Winning defensive allies gain the defending colony, winning offensive allies gain rewards. It should be noted that this card is played after encounter cards are revealed, adding a sneaky element to this version of Solar Wind. Victory Boon lets the winning defensive main player gain rewards. The other new artifacts are new to Cosmic Encounter. Ship Zap does exactly that, zapping 1 ship anywhere, including the hyperspace gate or out of the game, sending it to the warp. And Omni Zap, a sort of complex wild zap. You can copy the effects of any zap card, or zapping any card that has been played or revealed. To use the Omni Zap, though, you have to remove 1 of your ships from the game or send 3 to the warp. There are 5 kickers in the Dominion deck, and like everything in this expansion, the kickers take things to the next level. They still have a multiplier, but also have secondary effects. Reverse Polarity has a -1, but only affects attack cards. Self-Destruct is a ×1 and simply forces both sides to lose. Duplicity is a ×2 and hoses your winning ally, sending them to the warp. Jamming Signal is a ×2 and negates other kicker effects, as well as preventing any reinforcements. And finally, Give War a Chance is a ×4 that only affects attack cards. Like the kickers, the rifts in this reward deck behave slightly differently. The Rift 3 is the same, but Rifts 2 and 1 have new effects. 2 lets you draw 2 cards from the Cosmic or Reward deck at a regroup. If it's taken from you, the other player loses the Rift and must discard 2 cards at random from their hand. The Rift 1 lets you establish a colony on a planet with no colonies, and someone taking it from you has to vacate 1 of their colonies. There's a new type of encounter card called a Retreat. This causes you to lose the encounter against an attack card, but none of the ships on your side go to the warp. Instead, they return to colonies, and your defending ships coexist on the planet. Against a Negotiate, it creates a deal situation. Finally, the other new card type is the 4 Intimidates. This card can be played face down by any player early in the encounter. If by a main player, it will become their encounter card. If by another player, to possibly lure an alliance. When cards must be revealed in the encounter, the main player may choose to reveal his ally's Intimidate without seeing it. If opposed by an attack card, it uses the value printed on it, -9, 19, 29, or 39. Opposed by anything else, it creates a deal situation. All in all, a pretty wild assortment of cards, and definitely some terrific incentive to ally with the defense. Although it's gotten to the point for some players that when they're using just the Dominion reward deck, they're a little bit leery of inviting defensive allies because they're worried about somebody getting their hands on a kicker ×4 or some other goodie.
This is why I think combining the two decks into one 64-card reward deck is really optimal. There's still plenty of good stuff to get in a deck like that, but now there's also stuff that's maybe just okay, or plenty of cards that aren't useful at all from one game to the next. Now, I mentioned earlier that for the most part, the only way to gain reward deck cards is by allying with the defense and winning. So let's talk briefly about the other ways that you can get to those cards. First, any effect that gives you rewards means that you can draw cards from the reward deck.
And this includes alien powers like Coward, Daredevil, Ghoul, Mercenary, Pirate, and others, the wild flare effects for Empath or Explorer, and the hazard reverse rewards will mean winning offensive allies can draw from the reward deck.
So why use it in every game? Well, for a few reasons. First, the original design intent of trying to incentivize defensive allies. Without the reward deck, you will likely find that more players ally with the offense whenever given the chance. Secondly, it introduces some really powerful cards and some entertaining game effects that can really up the ante and excitement. Many dramatic events take place because of reward deck cards. And finally, certain game effects and aliens become more powerful and interesting. There's a lot of fun packed in those reward decks, and you're missing out if you're not including it whenever you play Cosmic Encounter. So go out and get Incursion and Dominion as soon as you can and really pump up your rewards. Hope you'd enjoyed, and we'll see you soon.